The Pregnant Husband, Chapter 3. The Antenatal Humiliation. The girl Arrow saw in the previous dream was there. The difference was she was already an enrolled midwife. Nina Bitter was a tall brown young lady in her early 20s, probably 23, with a nice backzone figure. She was so charming that Arrow the Faithful stole a glance at her shaking nettle when she walked. Arrow was not this kind of a person who easily fell for any girl. He was so proud in his own manner. He was Arrow Z, my little brother. Well, Ava was already in front and never trapped his eyes meander. She walked elegantly to the examination room, from where she jumped straight to the bed elated as she greeted the technicians in the room. She waved at her husband, who stood in the doorway, ready to watch the fetus. The technician advised Nina to escort Arrow to the waiting room as they organized the machines. Cheerful Nina walked with dancing buttocks to the corridor that led to the assigned room. She greeted him thrice with a wide smile, then exclaimed how loving their couple was. She admired the care for each showed to each other, as if they were twins. Nina remained inquisitive as the walk continued. She sincerely admitted that true love people thought of remaining in novels reigned between Arrow and Ava. Right. They were typical lovebirds. She wanted to know how their relationship kicked off. Arrow smiled, then told her that he had already answered the question in the middle of the night. Nina chuckled at him, for she was seeing him for the first time since she had just shifted from the main branch in Mengo to Rubaga. She added that she did not know his name either. Anyway, the pretty girl was blushing. Arrow put a diversion that there was a patient in need of her attention, but Nina insisted that she was going to work on his wife. The cool man suddenly dozed off as Nina said about the mistreatment her ex-flame made her go through. She spoke and inquired for the second time how he got his tender wife. It was against such a background that she had him snore. She was so astonished to see a handsome man of his caliber in a deep sleep after a few seconds of inactivity. When he tried to wake him, Arrow mentioned her name, Nina Bitter. Stay with me. Nina got bewildered. She had no name tag, neither had she told him her name. She panicked to get him from the sleep, but he was too weak to stand. Nina warned him to reduce on the hours of lovemaking, such that the day did not disturb him. She gave him a shoulder to lean on as he opened his eyes to see what was taking place. He initially thought it was a dream, but when his fingers touched the soft heels that stood on Nina's chest, he withdrew rapidly and apologized to her immediately that he never intended doing so. It was late. Ava was standing a few meters from where the duo sat, holding a heel. She aimed and threw it at Nina, who bent a bit, and it hit Arrow on the head. Arrow stood silently as Ava walked to where Nina was and pulled her white coat, who in return seized her and whispered that her man was dozing in the morning. She warned her to manage their bedding time to avoid blaming others. Nina continued that she had nothing to do with her man, for she had a better one. As the two's chests warmed up, Ava threatened Nina that her job was at risk because Ava knew her bosses more than anyone else around. She whispered to her that Arrow was in her nails. She summoned him at once, who paid heed without question. Ava ordered Arrow to apologize to her for his misdemeanor, which he did while touching the head. It was bleeding. Ava went back for examination as Nina took Aro to the other room to dress his lesson. He sat on an occupied bed from where Nina found him. She cleaned the forehead, then disinfected the cut as she applied a plaster, then inquired whether his wife was a soldier. Aro's lips stretched outwards with a faint smile. He introduced himself, then said, My wife is an accountant working as a branch manager at Crested Bank, Uganda. She is Ava Flame, and I love her so much. Nina saw the difficulty my brother used to speak and realized something was wrong. She wanted to know how they met. He coughed and asked for a bottle of water. Then the story went to Genesis. Aaron narrated, Meeting Ava is the most mysterious event I have ever seen. I was walking along the streets of Kampala holding my briefcase from Kampala Road to No Car Park. I had finished supplying copies of my new novel, Legs of a Woman, to 3 leading bookshops. Sincerely speaking, I was so happy because selling one book in Africa is as difficult as winning a presidential election. There I swung my bag in the air without taking caution of the cat pass. In the middle of the Namirembe Road, I stood then saw thousands of beautiful women passing. Oh, the city collects. I took my time watching until eyes landed on a fresh universe goddess that was not only elegant but also full of beauty. Her eyes shone like crystals of silver. The pointed nose with small red lips that matched with her oval face drew me in the arena of amnesia. Pedestrians were knocking me hard, but I could not give them attention. Motorcycles almost hit me. Up to now, I cannot tell why they spared me, for the riders never cared. Well, Ava stood 5 meters in front of me wiping her glasses, which she pocketed then put on sunnies. Wow. My hands clapped as if Liverpool FC had scored against Real Madrid. She was so spectacular. She walked towards me as I watched her flat belly cut off by her high-waist grey skirt stretched by her protruding hips. I knew what she had behind was magical. Ava had fat calves that shook when her red heels fox-trotted upwards. Right, I get it. Boda did not knock me, for they were wondering at what made me hypnotic. I guess she froze time. No, people moved normally. I regained consciousness when she passed by me. The excitement in my heart lifted me to run and stand in front of her and spoke with charisma. You are so beautiful. The noise was too much that she could not hear me well. I went up to her right ear and repeated myself. Lines of grimace promptly developed her face as she jeered me and continued moving. The room hit up with laughter. Nina failed to control herself, and another nurse found stability on the nearby bed as the patient adjacent coughed endlessly. They called it total madness for a man from nowhere to stop a woman he did not know. The other nurse locked the door as such that no one else interrupted them as Nina switched his cell phone off. They wanted the story to continue. He shared again. The crowd swayed her to pay attention to me. They also moralized me to follow her, thinking we knew each other. Little did they know we were both strangers to each other. Ava walked to Nkrumah Road, where the street was almost empty. There I drew to her for an apology, for I owed her one. I had exercised a high degree of hooliganism. She asked whether I knew her. The smile on my face depicted a no. She warned me never to jest with her again. She moved to the bank and ordered the security guards not to allow me. Unfortunately, these people knew me very well. They wanted my autograph. It was then I learned about the person I was following. She had no interest in me, neither did she have a known paramour. There I got her contact from one of the guards who whispered that everyone in the bank liked my books. I called as ROZ on a daily basis and got to know about her. That is how it started. They were not contented with the explanation. They wanted details. He searched for his cell phone and turned to Nina. He guessed she had played with it. Arrow was a nice man who showed extreme fear for his wife. Maybe he respected her so much that we never admitted his care for her. He opened the door and joined his wife. Another midwife who worked on her advised the couple to report the following morning. Arrow helped Ava to get off the bed. The midwife counseled them to remain humble and calm, for there existed many challenges ahead of them. Arrow never understood but shook the head in approval. He had decided to settle with her no matter what. He was so unique that I am proud of him. As soon as they moved out of the hospital, a black Prado TX parked where the couple stood and the door opened. A short fat man who looked 45 came out and hugged Ava in front of her husband.